first thing I noticed was the sand. Not the grainy kind from the playground, but the fine, powdery stuff that clings to your ankles after the tide rolls out. It formed a trail from Nico's bedroom door to the edge of his bed, glinting under the moonlight, bleeding through his blinds. I bent to brush it away, but stopped when I heard it. A wet, rhythmic sound, like lips parting, then sealing shut, not coming from anywhere, but everywhere. Even the wallpaper seemed to breathe. The shell sat on his nightstand, black as a pupil, spirals etched into its surface. He'd found it that day, kept insisting there was a voice inside. A friend named Tusk. Salt. Iron. The scent hit me first, then the cold. The bedroom window was shut. No wind. Still, the curtain shivered. 2 nights ago, I'd caught him in the backyard at 3 a.m., standing ankle-deep in the kiddie pool we never took down, staring at his reflection like it might answer him. "Tusk says you lied," he whispered, not turning around. I pressed it to my ear, a wet gasp. Desperate. Familiar. My wife's voice, 5 years buried, rasped a single word. "Marcus!" In the kitchen, I poured a glass of water with shaking hands, counted the pills in the sobriety jar on the counter, still 27, still untouched. Through the window, the maple tree in the yard sagged, its branches clawing the dirt. Something pale jutted from the soil beneath it. A root? No, not a root. The ground beneath the maple felt spongy, like flesh refusing a bruise. My slippers sank as I approached. Not a root. A finger. Or a suggestion of one, bone fragments knuckling through the mud. Her! Ring glinted on a swollen joint, opal cracked like a cataract. Nico's bed was empty when I stumbled back inside, sheets rippled like tide lines. The sink faucet dripped. Teetsk! Through the window the kiddie pool gleamed, a slick pupil reflecting nothing. Sand gritted under my nails as I gripped the sill. My reflection wavered, hollows under eyes, jaw working around unspoken bargains. A drink. The sobriety jar rattled behind me, pills skittering in their glass coffin. When I faced the room, the jar lay shattered, white capsules dissolved in a spreading water stain. Not water. Salt water. Foaming at the edges. Footprints led back upstairs. Tiny, bare, each one cradling a perfect spiral of sand. The shell hummed in my pocket. Her voice rose through the floorboards now. Not a gasp, but a lullaby. The one I'd sung to Nico during thunderstorms. Hush now. The tide knows. Somewhere, a screen door creaked. Waves, impossibly close, and beneath it all, that wet sound again, something being carefully unstitched. The shell's hum migrated to my molars. Nico's door stood ajar, breathing cellar damp into the hallway. His nightlight cast a chlorined glow, cruel hospital bright. I stepped over the sand trail. Each granule hissed beneath my soles. Liar! Liar! His bed was a raft of sheets, adrift. No! Nico! The window wept condensation, warping the maple silhouette. Branches pressed the glass, fingertips smudging to bone. Please, I whispered, but whose name filled that syllable? The closet door sighed open. Nico's overalls swayed empty. Something gleamed in the pocket. Another shell, spiraled tight as a scream. When I touched it, salt burned my hangnails. Her lullaby thickened. Not from below now, but inside the walls. Hush now! The tide knows your false name! Floorboards bent under a weight they'd never learned to hold. The shell in my palm pulsed wetly. A valve. A throat. Downstairs. Waves. Not the rhythmic kind, but the slap of a child's palm against pudding skin. Wet, insistent. The hallway twisted. Door frames rippled like kelp. My reflection in Nico's crayon mirror. Mouth a wobbled void. Fingers webbed with brine. I found him curled in the dry bathtub, plaster cracking like sea ice above him. His hair crusted white. "Daddy's here!" I rasped. He turned. His pupils were mollusk black, lidless. "No," he said, voice a gurgle. "Daddy's here." A hand on my shoulder, cold, barnacled. the scent of her apricot shampoo beneath the rot. I didn't look. Couldn't. The house groaned, joists dissolving into coral. Salt crusted my lips. Some vows float, others anchor. The hand tightened, knuckles clicking like chitin. My breath hitched, thick, briny, each gasp a drowning. Nico uncurled, his pajamas translucent as jellyfish membrane. Veins pulsed blue beneath skin that rippled, reflexive when the ceiling began to drip. Hold my hand, I crooned, reaching, but his fingers splayed into fronds. Sea whip! Fire coral! The sink faucet groaned, spewing black grit. Sand? No. Egg casing split and glistening. Her laughter bubbled up through the drain, a sound I'd loved once decomposed. The shell in my pocket convulsed, edges biting through denim. I pressed it hard against my thigh, let the pain tether me. Anchor! 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 Nico's head lolled. Gills fluttered beneath his jaw. Don't you hear her? He sighed, words distorted, as if spoken through a conch. The wallpaper behind him peeled, revealing wet limestone studded with mussels. Their hinges gaped. Pressure built in my sinuses, the weight of fathoms. My wedding band calcified, crustaceans scuttling in its grooves. Downstairs, the front door bellied inward, planks bowing against a current only the house remembered. Take off your shoes, Nico giggled, shrill and tidal. His teeth were mother of pearl, too many, crowded. The floor wants to taste you. I looked down. Between my toes the hardwood softened, blisters of sap rose, burst, each a perfect brine pool, swirling with phosphorescent flecks. The shell's spiral pressed into my palm, a teeth-clenched twist. Some part of me was already buoyant, straining toward the surface. The rest? Oh, the rest was sediment. The spiral's bite became a throb, a heartbeat in my clenched fist. I tried to step back, but the floor sucked at my soles, fibrous strands of wood curling up between my arches. Nico swayed, his breath a wet gurgle syncopated with the drip-drip from the ceiling. The shell split my skin, a cold nibbling under the knuckle. When I uncurled my fingers, the whirl had sutured to my palm, ridges fused with lifelines. My wedding band clattered to the floor as the boards lapped at it greedily. Nico's throat gills flared red as a segmented tongue slid from the torn membrane. It dragged salt-rusted across my cheek while his milky-eyed stare reflected nothing. My own throat clogged with feathery decay. Muscles on limestone walls flexed open, ejecting silver threads that hung in the thickening air. The stench of low tide and iodine bloomed, death's marinade from end-of-life memories. Nico's pupils dissolved into blank orbs. Behind them swam a shadow, the silhouette of a woman wading into surf, skirt billowing like a jellyfish's bell. Her! Shade contracted in the emptiness. Sunset pink nacre bloomed beneath my splitting fingernails. I tried to scream, but my lungs hardened with sand. The undertow pulled at my marrow as the house exhaled its first oceanic breath. Walls sighed into translucent membranes, pulsing with the rhythm of unseen tides. Every surface grew mouths, whispering pores, drinking in the dark pressure of the waiting ocean. My skin cracked like drying seaweed, split by ridges of pearlescent growth. I touched my throat scales. Saltwater tears pooled in the creases, but when I blinked, my eyelids grated like barnacled hinges. Nico's gills pulsed in time to the wall's breathing. A thread of black kelp slithered from his gaping collar, searching. The light deepened to drowned green. Shapes moved in the corners, not shadows, but swimmers, suspended just beyond the membrane walls. Their limbs drifted weightless, hair fanning like phosphorescent algae. One turned her head. The woman from the hollows of Nico's eyes, her mouth sewn shut with fishing line. I backed into something wetly yielding. The spiral in my palm had sprouted tendrils, wire-thin, rooting into tendons. It pulled. My arm lifted without consent, fingers grazing a bulging wall. The membrane split warm brine flooded my boots. Stop! I rasped, but my voice was bubbles, my tongue a wrinkled thing pickled in brine. The house groaned, joists crackling into coral. Nico knelt now, forehead pressed to the warping floor, his spine undulating beneath shirt fabric, gone slick and translucent. A coldness lapped at my ankles. Not water thinner, hungrier, the tide inside the walls leaching into the room. My wedding band glittered far below, half embedded in a floorboard split heart. The woman pressed her stitched mouth to the wall. Behind her, the deep sang in a language of sinking things.